sharing 4 key steps to becoming the better leader that you were truly meant to be. Whether you are just starting out or whether you're ready to take your leadership to the next level, these practical steps will guide you with confidence, purpose, and impact. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Let's go ahead and get into it. Khary, I know this is something that you are very passionate about, so I'm going to let you kick us off and start with step 1.
Okay. All right. So yeah, Ken, I was thinking about this as we were discussing what we were going to talk about today. And one of the things I was thinking about is as we're transitioning. So summer's been great. It's been good. It's been great. I'm actually a little sad about summer leaving, but part of that is transitioning to the next season. And so as leaders, a lot of times what we need to do is have a strategy where we can fall forward. So we're going into autumn, so we're going to fall forward. And so the first one is I want us to think about reclaiming our rhythm. And so someone wise once told me that summer may have been spontaneous, but fall thrives on structure. And so what happens is we get a little loosey-goosey during the summer, a little laid back, a little chilled. And so now kids are going back to school, work starts to pick up, the intensity starts to change. And so we don't want to be caught off guard. We want to make sure that we're going with the flow. And a part of that is making sure that we reclaim our rhythm. So in other words, we're getting back into the groove. We're going back. We're going to get our structure back. And so I want people to revisit their routines, establish their boundaries, and then build in some margin. Let's give ourselves some grace. Let's not overdo it right away. Give us some time to build in some of that comfort level. And some of us kind of think of it like as spiritual scaffolding, if you will. So you build your calendar. It should support your calling, but it shouldn't sabotage it. So that's the first one, reclaiming your rhythm, getting back into the groove, getting back into it. Okay. So that's number one. So that's the first thing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's important for us to kind of get back into that routine and anchor ourselves into those must-do rituals that we need, especially when it comes to our work life. Like you can even include that in your personal life as well. But like you said, it's that transition time, so we can take that and transition into the next step and get ourselves ready for what's coming next. So, I have an example of some of my must-do rituals when I was working was kind of those situations where you look at what you have to do for the day, but then you kind of set your priorities to what is most important, set your goals for the day. And those rituals kind of help you stay focused, especially when things get kind of crazy and chaotic. So it's time to kind of, like you said, transition, reset, and move into the next phase. So yeah, I like that.
That's right. And so the second one is all about prioritizing your purpose over your pace. So this isn't about doing a whole bunch of stuff. It's about doing the things that matters. So again, this is another saying that I want to share with you all today. So the hustle is loud, but purpose whispers. And so really what that means is I want you all to think about before you dive into all that rigmarole and you do all that stuff, ask yourself, what does my leadership need right now? I want you to think about trading that urgency for intentionality. And when you have your influence, when it grows, your alignment and your values, that's when your action also grows. So I want you to think about how can I shift gears a little bit? We're going from summer to fall, and I have to prioritize my purpose over my pace. I'm not doing a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm doing those things that are important.
Very important to kind of restructure our stuff, like you said. So I like that one.
And then the next one is lead with lightness. So there was a movie out, I'm aging myself, but I think it was probably about 10, 15 years ago. It was George Clooney. I think it was called Up in the Air. And so George Clooney was, he was also a part of what his day job was, but he also did the side hustle where he was a speaker. He was a kind of a motivational speaker. And he always talked about your backpack. And so backpacks are heavy, but your leadership doesn't have to be. And so what I mean by that is I want people to think about leading with lightness and infusing humor, infusing grace, infusing empathy into your meetings and your messaging. And think about how you can be intentional with not being the heavy. Lead with lightness, unload that backpack, don't lift so much.
Yeah.
And make sure that your leadership, you're leading with that lightness, not with the heaviness. So I think as we start to transition from summer to fall and thinking about all those fun things that we did in the summer, make
Yeah.
it light. Make that transition light and fun and good for those around you.
Yeah, I like that analogy of unpacking the backpack because,
Yeah.
we do walk around, I think, in our lives with heavy weights on our shoulders.
Yes, sir.
And sometimes we just carry that around and that falls into everything that we do. So
That's right.
I like that idea of saying, looking at what we've got in that backpack,
That's
kind of
right.
unburdening that that weight that's on our shoulders. And then
Yep.
that helps us to lead and move forward in a better likeness, in a better way. So
That's
I
right.
like that analogy of unpacking things. And that is something that is easier said than done.
It is. That is
I
true.
know that personally, it's easier said than done. Just with recent things that have happened in my life.
Yep.
But I think it's still important to get that message out there that it
Yeah.
is doable. It's a challenge, but challenge is what sometimes drives us to and
That's right.
motivates us to do
That's
better.
right.
Yeah.
So I've got one more, Ken. This is my last one. And so I'm gonna ask everyone as we're transitioning from summer to fall. I want you to reflect and recalibrate. And so I'm asking you all to pause and assess where you are in the framework of where you want to go. So I just had a conversation with one of my mentees, and she was asking me, "Hey, Khary, there's a job opportunity that's come up. I really think I'm qualified for it, except for one thing." And she said, "Do you think I should go for it?" And I said, "Absolutely, I think you should. And here's what I want you to do." And so part of that discussion that we were having, she was assessing where she is, and she's recalibrating on her perspective, and she's trying to align herself with this new opportunity. And so I think that honest reflection and
Yeah.
that helps guide your shifts, and it allows you to not just help you with your goals, but it also helps you with grace. And so what I'm asking her and challenging her with is, okay, so even though you don't have that, how can you come up with a plan to adopt that gap in the resume or that job description? And so we came up with some solutions of how she can do that. And so she's going to report back to me on how that goes. And part of that is meeting with the hiring manager and talking about some of her aspirations as well. So again, the whole point of this is reflecting and recalibrating on where you are and where you want to be.
I think that that's a very good way to kind of end those 4 steps, is because it's important to kind of reflect back on that week and
Yep.
ask yourself what went well, what didn't go well, and where do I need to adjust? Because sometimes I think we spend a lot of time putting out fires and not enough time on kind of strategic planning, as we would say.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I think that that weekly and sometimes that daily reflection
Yeah.
helps not only myself, but I'm sure would help other people to kind of reflect and recalibrate and focus,
Yes.
which ultimately helps to one to become a better leader. So I think that that's a very good way to round us out. So Khary, I mean that this is great. These are the kind of conversations that we want to have. So those are the 4 key steps to becoming the leader that you were meant to be. Remember, leadership isn't a title; it's a daily choice. You have to start small. You have to stay consistent and keep growing into the better version of yourself. If this helped in any way, hit that like button, share it with somebody who's ready to lead, and subscribe for more of these conversations that inspire. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for our next conversation where we get into the 3 must-have traits for great leaders. Khary, I'm going to look to you and let you end us with your inspirational affirmation, and we'll catch everybody on the next one.
All righty. Thank you, sir. I'm going to ask everyone, make sure you lead with love, laugh with grace, and lift someone up today. Appreciate y'all.
Ciao. Thanks, everybody. See you on the next one.